Welcome to the Project with Lewis and Sam, the podcast that looks at projects throughout pop culture and history. I'm Lewis.
And I'm Sam.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the very first episode of the brand new Sky series, The Lazarus Project.
We are indeed. We thought we'd be on the pulse for once.
Yes, we certainly did.
And we both watched it today, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, we watched it this morning. Although this is like nearly over a week before this episode comes out.
Yeah, that's true. We're getting
because
ahead.
of other plans, But yes, how are you today, Sam?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all. Yeah, we've been to the cinema for an undisclosed reason, which I think the episode will be out at this point.
Yeah,
but I'm still keeping it undisclosed there anyway.
You have all heard our thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion before we've even had them.
Yeah, that's yeah. I guess timeline wise that does work. Yeah,
well, that'll fit into today's episode.
Oh, very sneaky. Yeah, I'm good though. How are you, Lewis?
Yeah, well, I've got a niggling back injury that's been going on all week, and
and it will seem like it's been going on for longer. To the
and to be honest, it may still be going on when this episode comes out. If it is, I'll probably go to the doctor.
Yeah. Well, before we get into any of the segments today, we've got time codes in the episode description, so feel free to skip around, do your own little time loop, keep listening to the same section. But we have a first segment, don't we, Lewis?
We certainly do. Project news.
Woo!
So as always, I've googled the word project and picked out a couple of things that took interest to me personally for us to talk about.
And hopefully me, and hopefully more than anything, all of you.
Yeah, but most importantly me, because I have to find them. So the first one is Disney Plus's Percy Jackson, an updated cast list including the Adam Project's Walter Scobell.
Okay, is that the little kid?
So the little kid from the Adam Project, little Adam, little Ryan Reynolds, is playing Percy Jackson.
Yeah, which I think we did talk about at some point, didn't we?
Yeah,
just briefly.
I don't know if it had been rumoured and now it's just been confirmed.
And we've got the other two main cast members. I think I saw a photo of them together. Not that it doesn't matter who they are really, but two other kids, a girl kid
Leah
and a boy
Jeffries
kid,
and Arian Simhadri.
Oh, very nice names there.
Yep. So yeah, they're going to be I like the fact that they're going with like young actors and not hiring like 20-year-olds and being like, look at these teenagers.
Yeah,
I feel like there has been a move in the last 5-10 years to actually just hire kids.
Yeah, I guess I don't know why child actors seem to be getting better. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're better at picking them.
I think it's the fact that people have started to realise that some kids can act.
Yeah.
Before they were like, kids, they can't act.
Because even a lot of like famous kid actors, if you watch their films, they're not great. Some of them. Like even Macaulay Culkin's he's not a good actor, is he? Like Lindsay Lohan, like not really a good actress. Is she?
Wow, hitting everyone's favourite childhood stars here. Who else wasn't a good actor?
The kid from Jurassic Park 1.
Oh, not Tim.
Little Timmy, yeah. Not a good actor.
He's still acting in stuff.
Well, not very well. Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a conversation about him at work the other day.
What about the girl? Oh, she's not acting.
She's a painter.
I think I saw an article at some point like, you'll never guess what the girl from Jurassic Park is up to. It's like the girl from Matilda didn't do any other films, I don't think.
Although isn't she related to Donald Trump?
Maybe. Yeah.
I think she's like Donald Trump's like niece or something, and she's very anti-Trump.
She's done something wildly different as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was calls when they were casting a new Matilda film, which I think it's just been advertised recently for Netflix,
for her to be
Miss Honey.
Miss Honey, yeah. But if she's not acting, then
no. And also, it's just like, if she hasn't been practicing her acting,
But yeah, are you going to be watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney Plus?
I may well do. Yeah, it depends if there's any other good series on at the time, really.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about the films.
We did.
At some point
you'd watched a bit of one recently.
Yeah, and
I've watched. Yeah, I think I watched them both on Disney Plus, but kind of like dipping in and out of them kind of thing.
Yeah.
First one was pretty solid. There's a strange cast in it. There's like Uma Thurman, Steve Coogan, like just people,
the classics.
The classics. No, yeah, but like just like quite a high level cast, because I think it's like an American Harry Potter was how it was billed.
Right.
So, and because it was like 5 years after Harry Potter, everyone was like, I need to get on this Harry Potter dollar.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting and being in the Fantastic Beasts film like they obviously should have done. All the Americans that couldn't be in Harry Potter originally.
But yeah, so I might watch it. I'm not too fussed about it either way.
Think if the first few episodes come out and they're well received, I think that's the way to go with something like this, really.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. So the other bit of news I've got is news that may excite you.
Ooh.
Is Millie Bobby Brown on Disney's radar for a new Star Wars project?
Oh, great.
I know how much you're a fan of Millie.
You know
Bobby
what?
Brown.
I've turned around on her a little bit. I watched the Hot Ones interview. She wasn't that annoying. She was a bit annoying, but she wasn't that annoying. And I think, I don't know, maybe
she's just matured a bit.
I think she's just matured a bit. And also she's getting a lot of hate from people. And I feel like I don't want to like be... When everyone loved her, I hated her. I'm a contrarian by heart,
clearly.
Basically. But
I didn't realize she was British.
Oh, yeah, she is.
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, she plays American and all. Apart from Enola Holmes.
Enola Holmes, yeah.
That's her normal accent, yeah.
But yeah, apparently she's going to be in a future Star Wars series.
I'm assuming that is Skeleton Crew. Have you heard about that? That's the James.
Not loads about.
What's he called? Who did recent Spider-Man? James Watts or something? The guy who did the Homecoming trilogy. Anyway, it was announced at Star Wars Celebration. He's doing a series called Skeleton Crew, which is like a slightly more. The cast are kids, so I imagine it's a bit like Stranger Things.
Right.
Jude Law's being cast in it.
Famous kid Jude Law.
Yeah, the youngest man in all of Hollywood, with the youngest man's hairline ever. No, but yeah, maybe. I mean, if they're looking at a Stranger Things style show, who better to get than the main kid from Stranger Things?
Well, I think like now that the sequel trilogy's kind of done and we've moved on. But they're going to keep pumping out TV series. They'll probably do another film trilogy at some point.
I think they've said they're going to avoid it for a bit. But, you know,
they might have the odd film. Like there was that Rogue Squadron film that was going to be made that I think's now maybe not being made.
That's Patty Jenkins, wasn't it? Yeah. It was funny because she was like, "There's never been a good fighter pilot film ever. There was never one. My dad was in the Air Force. I know all about planes." And then Wonder Woman 84 happened and Top Gun Maverick happened and everyone just kind of shushed it away.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew is 2023 apparently.
Right, okay.
So
because there was a trailer for the Cassian Andor series.
Yeah, did you watch that?
I did not.
I thought it was pretty good. It looks like Rogue One. Like it looks grounded.
Makes sense.
You know, like I think it has flashbacks to maybe where he grew up. So there'll be a bit of kind of.
It's going to be before Rogue One.
Yeah,
obviously,
so
because
they've announced.
dies.
Yeah, they've announced 2 seasons. First one is 5 years before Rogue One,
right?
And the second one is kind of jumping up to the point of Rogue One.
Right.
So the first one will be quite separate. The second one might introduce some people we know.
That'd be cool because he's an interesting character. It's kind of implied in Rogue One that he's done some maybe questionable things in the name of the rebellion.
Yeah. Because even in that we see like he shoots the person who's giving the information and leaves him for dead and that sort of stuff. Yeah, he's like a Han Solo but more underbelly kind of side.
Yeah.
At least that's how he's supposed to be portrayed, isn't he? Yeah.
Like there's some dodgy things happening on all sides.
Yes. John Watts. Did I say John Watts? Yeah. I think I said
John
James Watts, but yeah, John Watts. Anyway, yeah, so that's interesting. Millie Bobby Brown in Star Wars potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see her. Like the only thing I've seen her outside of Stranger Things is Enola Holmes. And I don't think
it's funny. All the women in Star Wars who are main characters are white women with brunette hair.
Yeah,
and most of them recently have been British. There's Felicity Jones and Daisy Ridley, and now Millie Bobby Brown as well. So
that's
why change the formula? I suppose they don't change it with anything else.
Well,
do they?
it it took them like 20 years to have like multiple women in the series. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, and also people say Millie Bobby Brown looks a bit like Natalie Portman, so they're keeping with that as well.
I think she looks a bit more like Carrie Fisher than Natalie Portman.
Well, maybe she'll be between the young version of Princess Leia and the slightly older version of Princess Leia.
Yeah, she's currently in that kind of. She looks like a teenager who would fit between 10 and 19.
So where would that be? That could be Andor then.
Yeah, that could be Andor.
Yeah. But I feel like doing a teen. Yeah, they've also said recently that they're not going to recast any characters because apparently that was the only thing that was wrong with Solo. So even though he was quite good, I thought.
No, I think I saw that, and I'm like, that's kind of a weird line to take because there's lots of fair criticisms of Solo, but and
Alden Ehrenreich. I always get him and Ansel Elgort confused.
Ansel Elgort
because they've got the
weird
same
names. And Ansel Elgort is
Baby Driver
and a bit of a dodgy guy, isn't he? I think he's done something bad.
I think, he was accused of inappropriate activity.
Nothing on the level of Ezra Miller.
No, Ezra Miller is having a bad time, and everyone that is around them is having a bad time as well.
Yeah.
There was child endangerment charges recently, providing drugs to a 12-year-old or something.
I mean, apparently, like nobody can find him at the moment. He's just run off with this like 18-year-old.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's not a. Yeah. Hawaii and Ezra Miller do not go well together, clearly.
But it'll be interesting for the Flash movie.
Yes, I am interested in that. In the way that you're interested in a collapsing building kind of thing.
Yes. But Ezra Miller's not on our project news today, and I don't really want to talk about them too much.
No. Well, I think it's probably a good time to move into the main topic, isn't it, Lewis?
So the main topic, the 2022 TV series, The Lazarus Project.
And it really is set in 2022, isn't it?
Oh,
it's very
clear. Oh, yes.
We talked about something recently. We're like, it's the first post-COVID. I think it was something I mentioned. It was the first post-COVID film. This leans into it a little bit.
It doesn't heavily go, hey guys, look, COVID happened. No. It's just like everyone's aware of the fact that COVID's happened.
Yeah, and they work it into the first half of it quite well, don't they? But what have you got to tell us about?
So I've got the Google description first of all, and Google didn't put much effort into this, I'll tell you that. The Lazarus Project is a Sky Television action drama time loop series from screenwriter Joe Barton and starring Papa Asidu.
Wow. How much of that's right, do you think?
How much of it is right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right. It's just not very interesting, is it?
Papa Asidu. I've never heard of this person before.
So I can go into some details. First, Joe Barton, creator of the show, his other only real success was Girl/Haji, which is like a BBC Two short drama.
Say I've ever heard of it.
But Papa Asidu is the main character who plays George in this. He was in The Murder in the Orient Express in a fairly small role.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think I might be able to picture him. Yeah.
In Men, the new Alex Garland
film.
Haven't
watched that yet. No.
Nor have I. And he was in the TV series Anne Boleyn as Anne Boleyn's brother.
Okay. Yeah. That was quite recent, wasn't it? Last year or so, yeah.
I think he's kind of up and coming. What else is we've also got Tom Burke, who was in Mank, playing Orson Welles.
The
Gary Oldman
Mank,
film.
No.
I saw it. It was fine. He's going to be in the upcoming Furiosa film.
Oh yeah.
And he was in one episode of The Crown.
Nice. Who does he play in this?
I can't.
Is he the bad guy or is he the teacher? Because those are the two people he probably plays.
There's lots of people in this.
Yeah, but one of them's like Danish.
It's not him.
And there's lots of women, so it's not them.
That's true. I'm looking at the Lazarus Project film. Don't want to talk about that anymore.
No, we've done that.
He's the villain.
He's the villain. Okay, we don't get much of him in this episode, but imagine he'll be fairly present throughout the rest of the series.
Yes,
or will he? You'll have to see what happens to him in this episode.
We also get Anjali Mahindra, who plays Archie, who's the first person Lazarus Project.
And you know who she is?
I've got
She is in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
That is what I've written down.
Which is something that we spoke about last episode, I think. I don't know why, but I think it came up when I searched for something. It came up. People also search for Sarah Jane Adventures.
Fair enough.
Probably Power Rangers.
She was also in an episode of Doctor Who.
Yes.
The one with Tesla.
Okay. So not the episode where Sarah Jane was... No. It was the other way around, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Tesla. I don't really remember that one, no.
No, I'm not really sure. I kind of remember it, but it was, I think it might have been a Jodie Whittaker one.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not the first time that Doctor Who has had someone play two characters, is it?
No.
Both Peter Capaldi and Karen Gillan were both in the same episode.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. There's loads of examples.
Something she said she regretted some role. I was looking it up. What else has she been in?
That's the main thing.
There was something where she played a suicide bomber, and she was like, "I would not have played that character now in context."
Yeah, fair enough. So we've also got Caroline Quentin, who plays Wes.
Yes,
the kind of lead.
They
of
also
the
say Ma or Mom or something.
Mom.
Okay,
Mom.
yeah. Because I thought she said Ma, and I was like, oh, that's very friendly.
Like the female equivalent of Sir.
Yeah,
Mom.
Okay, yeah.
Who's most famous for being in Jonathan Creek, and she was married to what's his face? You know, the guy on Have I Got News for You? Not Paul Merton.
Yes, yeah.
She was married to him in the 90s, so she was in loads of stuff with him.
Right.
In the 90s.
Bit of nepotism there.
Yeah. But she was also in Jonathan Creek. Christina's a big fan of Jonathan Creek.
I, for a long time, got, what's it called? Dawson's Creek and Jonathan Creek confused because I'd not seen either of them, and they were both around the same time.
Yeah, but wow.
I was like, which one is the one with Alan Davis in it?
Oh, Dawson's Creek, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe Katie Holmes was starring alongside him in something.
So I've got a list of other people to quickly fly through here.
Yeah.
Charlie Clive plays Sarah, his girlfriend.
Right, yeah.
Don't know.
Was she called Sarah then? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't write her down at all.
Rudy Darmalignum
was the sad guy.
Yeah, the sad guy.
Yeah, I looked
who's got a tiny role in Fantastic Beasts, and that's the only thing.
I thought he was familiar, but I didn't recognise the actor's name, so I didn't go any further.
We've got Lorne MacDonald, who I didn't recognise for anything. Right. Vinette Robinson, who was in 4 episodes of Sherlock. She was in an episode of Black Mirror, and she played Rosa Parks in the Doctor Who episode about Rosa Parks. So she's been doing.
Where was she? Was she in this episode? I don't remember. There was a big group that we were introduced to. We didn't spend a lot of time with them.
She might not have been in this one.
Yeah.
I wrote this stuff down before I watched it.
No,
clearly.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean they'll show up at some point if we carry on watching this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also I didn't write it down because he wasn't on Wikipedia. But the guy that played the Dane is an Icelandic actor.
Right, so you didn't cast.
Yeah, because I thought it was the other person I've got is Brian Gleeson.
Right, that sounds familiar.
Who plays Ross in this? I don't know, probably one of the guys. Yeah. But he is son of Brendan Gleeson, brother of Domhnall Gleeson.
Oh, really?
So he's the lesser Gleeson.
Yeah. What's he called?
Brian Gleeson. He was in Mother, the Jennifer Aniston film. He was in Phantom Thread. He was in the new Hellboy film. He was in an episode of Primeval that we watched about recently. And he's been in Peaky Blinders recently.
He's in Frank of Ireland. Yeah, I watched the first episode of that. It was pretty good. It's like a comedy series with both the brothers in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, quite good.
And the final thing is on IMDb, the whole series has got a rating of 6.2.
Okay.
But this episode has got a 7.
Yeah.
That may have changed since I wrote this down because there wasn't many reviews.
Yeah, it's very new, isn't it? Yeah. I saw a couple of reviews I didn't read. Some were like praising it quite well. One says something about this time loop should stay where it stopped, or it was trying to be clever, and it was just basically implying that it was an okay start and maybe the rest isn't as good, but at this point, we're still in the first part of the time loop, so we have no idea about the future of the series, despite the fact that it has all been released.
Yeah, but we're going to watch them one by one.
We'll watch them one by one. because they are also being shown in the UK
one by
one. I
Yeah.
imagine on Thursday nights, because the first one premiered on Thursday. So
yeah, so it's all out there, but you know,
we'll release them. So when will we? Yeah, we might be a week behind with some of them, but hey, you know,
yeah, we'll get through
them. Although we may defer from the schedule as we get to our 50th episode, but that's something that we'll probably discuss nearer the time.
Yes, because this
once plans have been solidified.
Is this episode 47?
47, as far as I'm aware. 45, 46, 47. Yeah, that's right.
They are the numbers before 47.
I was counting from White Rabbit Project, which is the only episode that's up at the moment, adding one and then adding another one.
Yeah.
Also known as adding two. So, should we get into the first episode then? Yeah.
Yes. So we get this man, George.
Yep.
Wakes up in his bed. He's like, "Oh, the rubbish men are here."
It's like 8 a.m. or 7 a.m.
7 a.m. on the 1st of July.
1st of July. I think 2022, but we don't get confirmation.
Yeah, it could be 2023.
It could be, yeah. Although we see a whole year in this, so I don't know how far in the future they'd go.
Yeah.
But based on where they are with COVID and stuff, maybe. Who knows? But it's vaguely kind of modern day, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's in bed with his girlfriend Sarah, and it's very playful.
Yeah,
he gets out. He's like, "Oh, I forgot to put the rubbish out."
Yeah, she's like, out. "Oh, if I show you my tits, will you make me some toast?" And he's like, "What kind of toast?" But then he doesn't get the tits. I guess he's getting it after.
Yeah,
but I would have asked for it first.
Well, but then you could just leave without making her toast, and then she's lost out.
It's a gentleman's agreement,
But yeah, then he's just off on his day. He's walking through. He's got like a big day today.
Yeah, they make a big deal about it, but you don't really hear what it is.
Yeah, so he's just walking through London. I presume it's London. It looks like London.
He gets bumped into by a guy wearing a very distinct orange beanie.
Yeah,
which is something that comes back later. I thought it was going to be him, because we don't see the guy's face. Like I thought it was going to be like, but no, it's not.
So yeah, he's gone to the bank. He's an app developer who's created this new app, and he wants a loan from the bank to basically get it going.
It's very much like the start of Fantastic Beasts when the guy wants money for his bakery and he tries to give it.
And it's like a data analysis app that predicts
trends and stuff. Isn't it? Yeah,
and you can use it for like stocks or all sorts of stuff. He's like a maths smart guy.
He's like a statistician.
Yeah.
But then some of the stuff is just he seems to have a good instinct about stuff, because they're like, give me an example, and he like gets up the news. And he's like, this American company, this guy's old and he's got loads of kids, so they're gonna have trouble soon. And it's like that's not based on your app data. Maybe the data shows it as well.
Yeah, but I think it is meant to be that he's got data on everything, and statistically, people in that position in companies of that size tends to go badly. So it's a safe bet.
Yeah,
they will go badly. I can't remember that company comes up a few times.
Yeah, it's almost like
Walton Whitman or something.
It's like a Goldman Sachs kind of like big investment firm kind of thing.
But his app is called Hazard Lights.
It is, yeah, and he gets the funding from the guy. He gets the
funding.
It's like £10,000 or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like startup money. And as we get that bit, did you notice that you see the virus on TV? It talks about potential new virus, maybe a new epidemic, and you're like,
called like MERS or something.
Yes, it's like a SARS kind of. I think MERS is probably a prefix for viruses that we just don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, he's celebrating the news with Sarah, his girlfriend. They're having a great time. And the virus mentioned on the news again.
Yeah.
And then it's the next morning, and they're all quite happy. She very rudely drops a pregnancy test in his cup of tea.
Oh, she threw it in the tea? I didn't notice that, yeah.
Because he's like, "You're gonna make me a new cup of tea." And it turns out she's pregnant.
Yes.
And it's like, yay, woo, everything's working out for these guys. Yeah. They're very happy. And then there's a bit of like a montage.
Yeah, it skips, I don't know how far it is, but
I presume several months.
Yeah, you'd imagine. I think at one point it says 3 months.
Right.
So they
get married.
They get married quite quickly, I guess, because they've got a baby on the way.
Yeah, and you see one of the guests have a bit of a cough at the wedding.
You do, yeah.
And it's like, oh, nobody ever has a cough in film or TV.
No, not allowed to now. And there's a very unhappy man at the wedding, and it's very clear that he's
like in love with.
He's very, very obvious. But the main guy is super like blasé about everything at this point.
Yeah.
And the guy comes out to him and he gives him like the bit of the like, is she a good woman? And he's like, yeah, she's all right. And it's like obviously he's in love with her, but he's like a bit like too cool. And then he's like, you better look after her. And he's like, oh, I can barely look after myself.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't seem to know who this man is.
I think he's aware of him, and he's just like, "Fuck off, Carl," and like playing it with him because he's like,
"We don't
like,
really.
Who are you to ask me these questions? Like, fuck off."
Yeah, like you're just a guy you're just a PE teacher.
Yeah, you're just somebody that she works with. Essentially.
Yeah, who's obviously like in love with her. Yeah, and then we skip 3 months ahead.
Yes, and the virus is spreading. Everyone's wearing masks.
Yes.
Probably the ones they'd kept from COVID.
Yeah, she like makes a comment about his mask, like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw that mask away." I don't know if he's got like a joke mask, but I didn't really see it.
There's like, a while where everyone's wearing masks except him at one point.
Yeah, it cuts where he's going down to the underground to the tube, and he notices that everyone's got them on again. And I think he's been in his own world, kind of wrapped up in his happiness.
And they're buying a Christmas tree. And then he's wearing a mask. He's got like a bright yellow mask.
Yes, that's it there. And
then you get to the death count is rising. This is all quite quick happening, which I appreciated. I was like,
we don't need to spend
I don't need all this.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. Also, it's a bit like too close to home, isn't it? I think to spend too much time on it.
But I get to Christmas and he gets like baby clothes.
Yeah, and he's kind of coughing a little bit under his breath. Yeah. She's quite heavily pregnant at this point.
And to confirm they are in London, the baby clothes have Spurs written on them, which I presume is Tottenham Hotspur and not the American whatever sport the Spurs in America play.
Yeah, he seems quite happy with that. And despite the fact that he's been coughing the whole time, it's when she starts coughing that he gets really worried.
Yeah, because she's pregnant.
Yeah, but also maybe don't go near her if you've got coughs.
Yeah, but you know, as we have recently realized, like when someone's pregnant and they've got a bad cough, they should be priority at the hospital.
We recently
I mean, because that was the thing in COVID, wasn't it?
Right.
Like pregnant people were a particular risk.
Right, it's double the life, isn't it? Double the life. That's what they say about being pregnant.
Still out of the hospital.
They go to like A&E. She looks like shit. She's like pale.
And she says, "Do you think we're gonna die?"
Yes, which is a very normal thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I've often asked people that, and they always say, "One day we will."
Lewis, one day.
Yeah.
I thought generally so far I liked a lot of it, but I think certain writing, certain lines and certain deliveries like that kind of took me out a little bit.
Yeah, I think
you'd agree,
because it's doing like a COVID thing.
Yeah.
I was just kind of waiting for the plot to start happening.
Yeah.
This is needed to kind of show what happens in their first year, show the relationship between them. But I was kind of quite keen to get onto the actual time loop stuff.
Yeah. And then as she said that, it kind of does like a flashy, jittery thing. And then
like a reverse time thing.
Yeah, and then we wake up together in their bed.
Yeah, we all wake up in their bed.
And they go, who are all of you, the listeners of the project? No, they it's back to the 1st of July.
And he's a bit confused, but he doesn't quite realise what's happened.
No, and instead of the kind of toast for tits bit,
No, she does say
it, but he just walks off and goes into the bathroom.
It's like weird deja vu.
That's what triggers it, isn't it? Because he thinks, it's just a dream, and then she says the exact same thing.
Yeah, and he's like, what?
But maybe she says that every morning. He's just overreacting to that point.
Maybe. But he's feeling a bit weird, but he carries on with his day, and then the guy in the beanie barges him again, and he's like, what?
Yeah, and then he I guess it's kind of realistic, but in a lot of these time loop things, it takes them a couple of loops before they kind of... Yeah. And they comment on it in this, and I think it's supposed to be a bit like, we'll skip all the repeats and stuff.
Yeah.
But he messes up the pitch meeting because he's just like...
He's like, we've already done this.
He's like, we've done this. Like, you must have a record of it.
You've given me the loan already. What the fuck is going on?
And he's just like, but why would he have gone to it? I guess it was when he got hit by the orange guy that he...
Yeah.
But he kind of fucks it though, doesn't he?
Yeah,
really?
And the banker doesn't... He's like, I don't remember giving you a loan. Like, what are you talking about? And because he's acting weird, he doesn't give him the loan.
Yeah, because he doesn't really get a chance to like explain his app, really, does he?
He's just like, this is fucking weird, right?
He's like, I'm having a really weird day.
Yeah, so he gets home and he kind of says to Sarah, the meeting went terrible. But he's like, we've done this all before.
Yeah,
like,
he's very insistent.
And like he's like really freaked out.
And he says he tries to get her to do a pregnancy test, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't want to do a pregnancy test. Like,
and he's trying to explain it all to her, and she's just like kind of skeptical. And then she's starting to get weirded out by his behavior.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where she wakes up in the night and he's doing like kind of statistical work trying to figure out.
He's on his laptop.
I think he's looking at things like time loops and stuff as well.
Yeah. And she's like, I need you to go see a psychiatrist because you're losing your mind. They like, you're just having dreams.
And he's like, and he's like, oh, there's another virus coming. And it is done well because it feels like he's got into like a weird conspiracy theory or something, doesn't it? And he's like really scaring her. And then we see Carl, the PE teacher at work, and he's like doing the classic, like driving the wedge between them. He's like, oh, it sounds like he's got like some real issues. Maybe he's checking out of the relationship. And she's like, oh no, like,
yeah.
And it's like, to be fair, he is, although I say he's driving a wedge, it's only because we know he's a bit of a dirtbag in some ways.
Yeah. And yeah,
he is kind of saying the right things really in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but he's definitely got other
motivations. Or whatever.
Yeah, but he's George is trying to explain they lived for 6 months. It is.
Yeah, and he's like, because also that's the thing. A lot of these time loops are a single day, and they'll do it like Groundhog Day is a day, and they do it, and that's why we see a couple. With this, like he's got the memories of the 6 months.
Yeah, and
it's
he gets more and more deeply like there's a big virus coming that's going to kill us.
And he's showing her like the news that have just come out of the MERS
and he's
thing.
like, this is going to be massive.
Yeah, and it's like, to her, it's like little things are kind of confirming his delusions, kind of thing.
Yeah, and she eventually says she's scared and she's going to go stay at her mum's.
Yeah, the words that no man wants to hear.
Yes, and he's like, I just want to keep you safe.
Yeah, he's like grabbing her quite like violently, like on the shoulders.
And then she's like, oh, Cole thinks you have a personality disorder. I was like, fucking Carl.
Yeah, and he's like, of course fucking Carl thinks that. Yeah. He's got nothing to gain from this fucking situation.
Carl becomes more and more like disliked throughout this episode.
Totally, yeah.
At first he's just the weird guy at the wedding, and then he's like, oh, fucking Carl.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, fuck, Carl. Yeah.
So she leaves and he like runs out.
Oh, because he's like prepping, like he's got tin cans in boxes. Yeah. He's got a hazmat suit on and it's kind of comical because he pops up from behind the box of cans with like a suit on with a like gas mask. And it's like, that's funny. And then it's like, oh no, it's not really that funny because he's gone over the deep end. And she's severely worried about her boyfriend.
But he follows her out. Instead of chasing after her, we see this random woman.
Yeah, like shouts out to him or something.
And she's like, let her go.
Oh yeah, she says like something along the lines of like, you can get her next time, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's quite apparent from straight away she knows
what's
stuff
going on. Yeah,
and she talks about his search history of time loop, replaying days, Tim loop, although I think that's a typo.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. But basically she's got answers to what's going on.
She says, if it happens again and you want answers, come to this address. And it's Clockmaker's house. Yeah, which is, I guess, because of time, Clockmakers is the idea.
Oh, that makes sense.
And he goes to check it out beforehand, and he looks at the building, and then
it's been destroyed.
Has it been destroyed then already?
Like the whole back of the building is like falling in on itself.
But they are like underground or something, are they? Do you think?
Or something bad happened?
Yeah, but it doesn't get. What, something happened in that loop then? Do you think?
Potentially.
Maybe, yeah. But when she says goodbye, she's like, maybe I'll see you, George. Another weird line in there.
But yeah, the virus is getting worse. And as he's walking past, he sees Sarah at the pub with Carl, and it was like, Carl is swooped straight in there.
I didn't see that.
What a bastard.
God.
As soon as she goes to sleep to stay at his mum, she then Carl's like, oh, like the comforting
shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
God.
Fucking Carl.
We all know a Carl, don't
Yeah,
we? Think of a couple of Carls. I can't actually think of it.
Oh, there was a Carl we both knew.
Oh no, I mean a theoretical Carl, not an actual Carl.
Oh yeah, we knew a Carl.
Yeah, we knew a Carl who was a mad lad, to be sure.
Yeah. Moving on. Then he wakes up again, and it's the 1st of July.
Yeah.
And he's in bed with Sarah.
Oh yeah, because I think he's like sitting on his own, and he's surrounded by all his like boxes. Yeah. And the news is just going like everything's worse. Yeah, and then and he goes back.
Yeah, and he's really, really happy to see her.
Yeah,
and is like hugging her. But then he remembers he needs to go to this address.
Yeah.
So he runs off, and I was just written down, no tits today.
No tits for toast today. Yeah. So she assumes that he's gone to his meeting.
Yes.
But in a way, he has gone to his new job meeting, hasn't he?
So he turns up at this building, and it's not, the back hasn't fallen in on itself this time.
Is that right? Okay.
It's all upright.
I noticed it was like that the first time, but I didn't notice that it wasn't like that the second time.
Yeah, so it's something happened in that time loop that made the building collapse.
And he was somewhere between.
It could have been like a fire when they're trying to solve something.
Yeah, I suppose it's more of an example that it's been reset than anything. Isn't it? Than we are actually supposed to.
And I think he notices as well.
Right.
So he's like, oh shit, this isn't destroyed now.
Yeah. Okay.
But he goes in, and it seems fairly abandoned.
Yes.
But then he bumps into the woman who he met before.
Who's called Archie, isn't she?
Called Archie, yeah. And he's like, these last 6 months were an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, they're the worst time.
Yeah, I think she's like, how was this loop for you? And he's just like, it was shit, basically.
Like the first time round, it was great until everyone died.
A lot of what they do in this first episode, I appreciate that they kind of flip the time loop on its head. Because a lot of the time it will be somebody is having a very mediocre life, and then by using time loops they get like the dream life.
Like we watched a film that did that where they
for the project?
Yeah.
For the project, for the podcast.
The one with the kids who invented the time machine.
Oh,
and they
Almanac.
Project Almanac.
Yeah. So normally it's they use the time loops to get this dream life, whereas in this he had it.
He just had it.
And it just for
the virus
reasons out of his control. Yeah. And there's a bit towards the end as well that I thought was a nice turn on it.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that as we get to it.
Yeah, she basically explains to him that he's a mutant.
Yeah,
but not like Wolverine.
She says not like fucking Wolverine. Yeah. Another thing with this character, as well as the weird writing that comes across, she swears a lot, and I feel like it's just a bit like, this is a program for adults and fucking Wolverine. Yeah. Not that I don't like that, but it's just it's something I noticed.
It's very Sky TV drama.
Yeah. It's kind of like Bloodless, but for adults.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
but anyway, she says that like 0.0001% of people have cells that can mean they can recall time jumps.
Yeah, it's mumbo jumbo basically.
Yeah, to explain why he suddenly got this power.
We find out that the time jumps have been done intentionally.
Yeah.
And you can basically do something to people which gives them the ability that he has innately.
Yes. And she says that he's lived through 20 time jumps. He just doesn't remember because like they were small or
But I think also his gift hadn't resurfaced. So he lived through the time jumps, but he hadn't had it yet. Because the other guy remembers all of them.
Yeah. But they say we are the Lazarus Project.
Yeah,
this is what we do. We stop end of the world situations.
It's mass extinction events.
Yes, they give the ones they mention are in 1963. The Soviets and America went to nuclear war.
Yeah,
we went back and stopped that from happening. In 1979, the Pakistani Prime Minister was assassinated by an Indian.
They seriously overreacted to the assassination.
Yeah. 1983, a scientist took smallpox out for a walk.
Yep.
And then yesterday, where we hadn't created a vaccine for MERS.
Yes, yeah. And she basically says they only use time travel when all other methods have been exhausted. So they also use military force, they use political stuff, they use espionage. So this is their backup plan, basically. But they've been going for at least kind of 50, 60 years there, basically. And they go to the place and they're basically, I assume they go underground or there's through a door or something. I don't really see. But he's asking about the time machine.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not really a time machine. It's basically a singularity in space.
Yes.
Which they compare it to a video game checkpoint. And the Earth passes it on the 1st of July every year. And if they don't activate the singularity using stuff, she says, have you got a degree in quantum physics? No, then I won't bother explaining it.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because we don't need to get an explanation.
Yeah, but it's basically, we can go back to the 1st of July up until the 1st of July next year, then we can just go back to, so you can always go back to the last 1st of July.
That's
which
right.
I think is quite a fun concept. Usually time, you can just go back to whenever, or you always go back to the same point.
Yeah, the only thing that is coming to mind now that kind of debunks it, as it were, is aren't we kind of moving through space as well as I assume it's moving with
singularity
us.
moves with us.
It's fine.
What's interesting as well is that there may be things that happen where it's like, say on the 2nd of July someone kills the Pakistani Prime Minister, and then they're like, let's keep an eye on this. And then tensions are building up in like late June next year, and they're shit, do we need to go back now?
Yeah,
or 1st of July hits, bam.
Yeah, because they don't really explain.
They don't have control on when they can go back. So it might be like 30th of June. Fuck, just in case, let's go back.
Yeah. And that's why they have quite a diverse team with lots of them seem to be special forces, which we'll meet in a little bit. But they've got him. Well, they get him on board because of his statistics and stuff, but mostly because he's got the mutant power, isn't it, really?
There's also quite an amusing bit that's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Where he's like, so you can't go back to like the 1800s. And Archie's like, why would I want to go back to the 1800s? I'm a brown woman. It's like, no, fair enough. Which they did mention in that Doctor Who episode with Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
Because what's his face?
Ryan
immediately gets.
I barely watched any of that.
Immediately gets some racist abuse in 1960s America. It was like, that's what it would have been like.
See, there's lines like that. It feels a bit like Marvel-y because it's jokey, but it was a good line. It worked at the time. It's like, that is completely legitimate and what lots of people feel. So.
And they go further explaining stuff because he was like, why didn't you stop 9/11? And she's like, the world didn't end on 9/11.
Yes.
Lots of people died, but the world didn't end.
Yeah, and she goes into a whole thing of like, if you stop that, do you stop a mass murder? Do you stop someone getting hit by a car? Hint, hint. She stopped your toast being burnt. He's like, you comparing 9/11 to burnt toast? It's like, well, relatively speaking, yes.
Neither of them will end at the end of the world. Event.
And I like this bit where he's like, why didn't you stop coronavirus? And she's like, we got a vaccine in 9 months. You don't think we went back once?
Yeah.
It's kind of devaluing the work of all the scientists a little bit.
But it is quite funny. It's like, to be fair, people said it might take us years to get a vaccine, and we did get a vaccine because of the hard work of doctors and scientists.
But also, like, if they can't keep anything physical when they go back, because they can't, we're assuming based on how we've been told it works.
No, because he keeps the card.
I don't think he does. I think he just went to check it out and he knows where to go.
Right, okay.
Because it's a genetic thing, so I think it's just the memories that stay. Because a character gets killed and then comes back to life, so it's not physical. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all, but
I think it makes enough sense.
Oh, no, I'm just saying in terms of like realistically, it doesn't. But I'm thinking
with
show
things about time leaps.
No, I'm thinking with things like the vaccine and stuff. So is it that one of the members of the team just remembers all the information and then writes it down when they come back through or something like that?
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that it matters too much, but
yeah,
they say like basically no one has that ability. There's like a handful of people that naturally have it, and they're basically like, don't worry about your loan. How do you want to come save the world with us instead?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know how to save the world. And they're like, oh, you'll pick it up.
They take it very lightly, but also I guess they've seen the end of the world like tens of times, so it's not really.
He goes home and Sarah's like, oh, hey, did you get the loan? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's immediately like, this is going to come back and bite him, the fact he started lying to her.
And she's like, oh, that's going to be a life-changing event.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know if he was told not to tell his girlfriend. I assume they said don't tell her.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know what I would do. I would like to believe that I would be truthful in that moment, but also you can see that this is going to cause some problems for him.
He's already seen previously trying to explain something that would be crazy.
Away. Yeah. I guess if he tried to prove it, they probably deny it as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, yeah. No, he's trying to hold on. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, he's back with. He meets the team.
Yes.
And they're discussing the fact that they've discovered a vaccine for MERS.
Yeah, and they basically say statistics will say about 20,000 dead instead of 20 million.
Yeah.
So it's like,
no,
cool.
woo, yeah, let's go. And they kind of celebrate.
Although 20 million still isn't the end of the world, is it? But maybe that's in the first year or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
The Spanish flu killed 20 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't really know what the COVID death toll is, to be honest, but
I think it's maybe like 4 or 5 million.
No, what, in the whole world?
Yeah. What is it? Am I like way off?
God. Yeah, 500 million. No cases, that is. Deaths, 663, yeah. 6,003,000.
Oh, there you go. I wasn't far off then.
You're pretty close, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, they also then mentioned that a nuke was hijacked yesterday. And they're like, it's non-operational. Don't worry, we'll keep an eye on it, but it's nothing too bad.
Big boy, it's called.
And then he gets introduced to the team.
Wait, so they say it needs a detonator, so they can't do it. But
I think,
but the detonator just shows up later.
Yeah, it's not really explained. Maybe it will be at some other point.
That's true. We're going back and forth, aren't we? Yeah.
But yeah, so we get introduced to Wes, who's the leader of the Lazarus Project.
I wrote AKA Mum.
Yeah, she's like, my name is, I can't, like,
Wes.
Something Wesley. Elizabeth Wesley, but you call me Mom. Or call me Wes behind my back.
Oh, okay.
We meet Shiv, who's another mutant.
Yeah, he's a bit of like a emo guy, isn't he? Like,
yeah, he's not very happy.
He's not a bundle of laughs.
And he just kind of walks off. And then like we get the rest of them who are various.
They're all special forces.
Forces.
One's like London Met. One's a Danish guy from. It had a cool name, whatever his face was.
And he's just known as the Dane.
He looks cool. He's got like he looks Icelandic, doesn't he? I suppose.
Yeah.
He's got like a kind of grey white hair and beard, but it's kind of gingery grey. It's cool
at first
look.
I thought this was the guy that was being played by Brian Gleeson because he looked a bit like Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, he does.
But he's not Brian Gleeson.
I don't think we met that character.
No, nor do I.
No. Okay.
I was like, that's weird. He looks like Brendan Gleeson.
He also looks like Brian Gleeson as well. I looked him up.
Yeah,
he looks very much like that guy.
But no, it's an Icelandic actor according to IMDb. Yeah, so they all say what they did as a career.
Yes.
And then Shiv asks him what he does. And he's like, oh, I'm an app developer. And he's just like, oh, you're going to be a lot of help, aren't you?
Yeah, and the rest of them like, that's great. We love apps.
Yeah.
And one of them's like, Grinder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then they're like, every time we save humanity, we have 2 for 1 cocktails and do karaoke.
Yeah, which sounds great. And they're like, do you want to come with us? He's like, yeah, sure. And then he
he's
looking at a weird statue, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's talking to Archie because she's the one that got him into the team, and he's like, I'm not really sure about like what I'm doing here, and she's like, look, you're smart and you didn't fall apart when you realized the time loop, and he was like, I did kinda. He was like, yeah, but not completely.
Whoa.
So I hit the wire there.
Yeah, he's like, I fell apart a little bit. She's like, yeah, you did fall apart a little bit.
Yeah. But she's like, it feels pretty good to save the world, so come have fun with us.
Yeah. No, he says, what's it like to save the world? She's like, it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Another bit of like the kind of slightly lame writing that I mentioned there. And then we kind of start.
We're at the karaoke bar next.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we meet where they're talking, people are singing. They're doing like it's Katie Tunstall or something like that.
Yeah.
And he goes to the bar to talk to Shiv, who's not really getting involved.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not good at singing.
They say like everyone does this to unwind, but I don't unwind. It's like Taveri takes himself seriously.
He was like, why? And he's like, I was born with this gift. I've seen the world end like 20 times.
Yeah.
You've had it for 5 minutes. We're not the same.
Yeah, it's so like,
it's like, get over yourself.
I get it, but
Shiv.
also like, fucking hell, like some of those things he wouldn't have even seen as well. Like the loop that comes later here is an explosion that happens out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been aware of that. So it's probably 10, maybe like 5 times that he saw the world get to a shit state kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like,
it's just a bit like, get over yourself. Like, don't be such an emo. Like,
yeah.
And then he starts singing it's the end of the world?
Yeah.
Which is quite funny. And it goes into a training montage and starts playing the real version of the song.
Yeah, and this
is George singing it, not Shiv. Shiv doesn't suddenly start singing it, no.
And he's like working on computers, he's training with a gun, and you see he's getting better with the gun.
It's the classic, like, I'm not very good at this gun thing, and then it keeps, by the end,
it's not the end of the world. It is the end of the world.
I think it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
What's the next line?
I don't know.
That's the one. Is it the one that goes to?
Yeah, it's got quite a quick.
Who is it? Is it REM?
Oh, it is REM.
Yeah, because there's also We Didn't Start the Fire. Is that REM as well?
No, that is
because they feel like the same song to me.
No, We Didn't Start the Fire's Billy Joel.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, they both got similar like
verses of
Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China. I'm reading it off. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, like things are going pretty well with George and Sarah as well. They're happy.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, Cole's having a dinner party we're going to," and he's like, "Oh, great."
Yeah, he's like very clearly not happy, and then he puts a smile on to turn around and be like, "Cool."
He turns up at the dinner party, and they're all kind of sitting around having a drink, and Cole's like, "George, I've just come in." He's like boasting about various sporting achievements.
Yeah. I don't know what he's up to, but he's like, I've saved some money up. I've got some new money come in. What's your app going to recommend?
Yeah.
And he recommends the company that he said was going downhill in the first bit.
Yeah.
So this is only probably 6 months, 3 months, couple of months on from the first bits. The company's still sailing high. And
it's like, well done.
We're like, George, go on, mate.
But then he's at work and he's like checking, he's got an algorithm that's checking like suspicious activity.
Yeah, it was designed for the app and then he's repurposed it to track like funding and stuff for like dodgy groups and that.
And he's flagged this suspicious Russian account.
Yeah.
That's linked to a security company that was guarding Big Boy, the nuclear bomb.
That's right. So we're to assume it's some sort of payoff for letting them have the bomb or
and then we find out
that.
It's linked to this man, Dennis Rebrov. And this name means something to everyone at Lazarus.
Yes, so he doesn't know, but they recognize the name. And when he shows them, it's a bit of like a murmuring thing.
Yeah, and they're like, he's on every terror watch list in the world.
Yes.
And then they explain that he used to be part of the Lazarus Project.
He's an ex-Lazarus agent, which we don't find out immediately, but is something that you assume he has the gift that they all have. He's been given it artificially, we assume.
Yeah, and he knows about time loops,
which makes him very, very dangerous.
Yes.
We get to the first end of the loop, don't we?
Yeah. So like, celebrate tonight is the end of your first checkpoint as a Lazarus agent.
Yeah, and he goes into it in, some may say the best, some may say an interesting way.
I was like, this is gonna come. So he's struggling to get to sleep because
he's watching the clock basically, isn't he?
And Sarah notices he's struggling to get to sleep, so decides to
initiate some fornication.
And as they're having sex, the clock ticks over to the 1st of July, and I was like, oh no.
That is going to come into...
Because when he's woken up on the 1st of July after the time loop, it's kind of
a bit of a shocking thing.
It kind of set up like...
In some ways, it's nice because it's like you've gone into it, you're doing something fun, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I also thought if they break up, it's going to be a bit of a weird way to go back into the... especially if she does something like go off with Carl.
I've just thought about...
Yeah,
the next episode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, she'll be all right if that happens.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
It'll be good.
He'll be very happy to see her, even more than the last time.
I was like, having sex. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things that the Lazarus agents are like, try not to be like at midnight, like,
or they're like, you should try that because you get to fuck each time and go back.
But it'd be like, don't be driving at midnight. Don't be like out in public at midnight.
Yeah, don't be like doing anything dangerous, basically.
Yeah. I imagine sex is probably a bad thing to be doing at midnight because...
Yeah. Where's the bit about... Oh, yeah, no, it was when Shiv, he asks earlier at the bar if he has a wife or a girlfriend, and he's like, oh, no, but I was going to ask her to marry me, and he's like, not many happy marriages in Lazarus.
Yeah.
It's like, they probably all just like have sex with each other instead.
Probably, yeah.
Because they're the only people that
maybe
understand.
Some of them, they do purposely have sex on the 1st of July at midnight.
Yeah, with each other. That would make sense. I've got a feeling that they're putting Archie in as a potential love interest.
Right.
She didn't seem interested in him, but if things don't work out with Sarah, she's the most kind of... Well, she's the only real candidate there, unless he decides to get on with the Danish guy.
But so he's walking Sarah to school where she's a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And Cole is there, and Cole is not happy at all.
Yeah,
and he's like,
he says goodbye to Sarah at the gates, and the kids are like, woo, they're like kissing. And as she gets into the school gates, he's there and he's really pissed off because the stock's all gone.
The stock's gone. He's lost all his money, and he's having a go at Sarah. And he's like, I want my money back. And she's like, that's just not how things work.
Yeah.
And then George like hears this and like goes over.
We don't see him walking over, I don't think. Or maybe we
see him turn. See them like arguing.
Yeah, and they're by the edge of the road, and Carl's getting a bit like forceful, and he kind of grabs her and pushes her.
Yeah,
and it's just as the rubbish truck is going past.
Yeah, George steps in and kind of catches her and basically stops her from getting pushed in front of a lorry.
Yeah.
And Cole's kind of taken her back, but George is like, you could have fucking killed her, man. Like, what is wrong with you?
Like, just, it's 10 grand or whatever. It's not worth it. Like,
and then Sarah goes, she's like Cole.
But she's kind of fine about it. I guess just in the moment, just carry on.
So she goes off. And then Cole's like having a go at George, saying he wants his money back. And he was like, what can I say? Like,
he's like, I put all my money into that. He's like, that was a stupid thing to do, wasn't it?
And like, it is kind of the thing, like, no matter what investment advice you get, don't put all your money
into one
like,
thing.
Don't put all your eggs into one basket.
Maybe halve it. If you've got a good tip, do like 2/3 or something.
Yeah,
all of it is always stupid.
Come on.
Yeah, I know this is one of the things that I was saying about earlier. The way that he comes in and saves her feels like that's something that would be done on a second or third loop.
Right.
And you get a lot of things like the time machine, the Guy Pearce version from 2001. The whole initial push for the building the time machine is to try and save his girlfriend or his wife or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's a fixed point, like we've talked about recently, where whatever he does, like the Doctor Strange What If episode, it plays out very similarly to that.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, he prevents it the first time without any real issue.
Yeah.
Which obviously, as you may be guessing if you're listening, may lead to some issues later on.
But he's at Lazarus. They talk about how Rebrov has got a team together and they've got an apartment in Paris where they know they're staying because there's lots of people coming in and out. But there's been no sign of Big Boy.
No, and they haven't seen Rebrov recently either, maybe, but they know he's staying there. They're like, one of these 5 people or whatever knows where he is, so we're gonna get a team together and go in. And George is like, oh, why am I going? I'm not a field agent. And she's like, what made you think that? Like, why have we been training you?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, I have to go in. He's like, I also noticed at this point, because it's cut for TV, so there's ad break slots.
Yeah.
Did you notice that the font almost looks exactly like the Matrix one?
It's got
kind
like
of
lines
designed with like
through
the
it.
lines through it, kind of like the coding kind of thing. It's
we got quite far into the episode before there was an ad break.
I think they did like half an hour without, and then they did 2 ad breaks in the last bit or something like that. But we basically so at one point I was thinking, this feels very much like something like Torchwood, and it's a small team of ragtag people in a British town, and they're all saving the world. And there's only 6 of them, but they're gonna save the world. But no, actually, they do have resources because there's a SWAT team. That
they fly to Paris.
Yeah,
and he's in the van with the Dane.
Yeah,
who's like they're doing.
There's a bit of a funny thing where he's like, I bet you've seen a load of shit in your thing. And he's like, yeah, I wake up screaming quite often. And he's like, ha, 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 ha. And the Dane just looks at him and he's like, oh, yeah.
Maybe you should go see somebody. But yeah, we've got like a SWAT team of like 10 people getting ready to burst into this building. And they go in, but some of the cameras go down.
Yeah, they've got like body cams, and they're immediately kind of cut. And it's not a great action scene. It's kind of just, I think it's supposed to be a bit confusing.
Yeah, because we're seeing it from George's point of view from the van mostly.
Yeah.
And there's some shots fired that you hear, oh, man down, and Archie sees someone run down into the basement.
Yeah, and I think it's just her that's left, seemingly. I think pretty much everyone seems to have been got in some sort of firefight.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that. Yeah,
anyway, she's the people with her are dead anyway.
Yeah, I think, but she goes down to the basement, and then she gets shot.
Yeah, and she's down, and then they look up. She looks up the stairs, and someone we assume is Rebrov is going down stairs and shoots her right in the camera, which is a kill shot, of course. To shoot right down the lens of the camera.
He's like looking at her, just like, here we go.
And we get the perspective from outside it's like an RV that they've repurposed, isn't it?
When she's like gone down, George like jumped out of the RV to go save her, but it doesn't have anything on it. He kind of hesitates. And then a motorbike comes crashing out the front window
through the shop front, which is quite cool.
The RV immediately starts following, and he jumps in the door very hard into the side.
Yeah, and then he almost immediately puts a seatbelt on, which is quite like he's a normal cute guy kind of thing. And the detonator's been taken or something, they mentioned. So
they
he
find
now
they find an empty briefcase where there's like a cushioned square where a detonator would be held.
I wonder where you get the foam things. I think you maybe just heat them up and then put what you want in it, and it takes the shape.
I think it's cut. And then a smaller bit will be put in there so that it's padded. So
I'm just thinking, like, they must get them custom made for all their weapons and
I think it's just a shape that's cut out, and then maybe that bit that's cut out you then slice in half and put it in.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Anyway, there's a car chase here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which we mentioned
a couple of weeks ago
on Project News. Which we didn't watch, but is this?
I'm glad we didn't, because it was a decent, 5 or so minute car
chase. Lots of like motorbikes doing cool stuff, and
so they're chasing Rebrov on his motorbike.
Yeah,
and then the police join in and start trying to chase them
both, and it's the Danes very much got an opinion like, we're literally here to save the world. I don't care about
and George is like, watch out for the police, and then
he just smashes straight through.
And there's some good shots where the police cars hit bollards, and you can see it's a car proper going in.
Yeah, that was good.
And there's one that flips later on, and it's like a proper slow-mo flip over the top.
And like there's bits where he's going down the back alleys and like down some stairs.
Yeah, it's a bit like we haven't seen the Bourne Identity films, we realised recently, but there's some stuff like that in the first one.
And the Dane's like, take the shot, George, take the shot. And his first shot's actually pretty good because it hits the helmet.
Yeah, I think it kind of glances it slightly.
Yeah,
and because it's
but doesn't kill him. And then another police car gets smashed.
Yeah.
And eventually, after this long old action-packed scene, Redbroth falls off his bike.
It's in some sort of like market stall area or something. Isn't it?
They've smashed through a bunch of stalls and stuff.
Yeah, he's off the bike, and they both get out of the car to
chase
to get him. And then almost immediately, the Dane gets shot like in the neck or something.
Yeah, because he's like slowly dying on the floor for quite a while.
Yeah, he's kind of doing that gurgling thing.
And George is like hiding behind like a market stall again. They're kind of exchanging shots.
Yeah, and he's on the phone to Mom, and he's like, "Oh, we've got him pinned down." And then the police turn up like from the other side, and she's like, "He's got the detonator. He's gonna set the detonation off." And it's like, shit, like it's.
And then you see this massive explosion.
Well, she says like code black ready or something like that.
And then you see this massive explosion in like the heart of Paris. The Arc de Triomphe, of course, gets destroyed. I'm surprised we didn't see a shot of the Eiffel Tower.
It's too cliched.
Too cliched.
So was it? So it was stored in that place? Was it? Do we think?
Or at another location?
I mean, they couldn't get it down the stairs, probably, could they?
Yeah, so I think it's just hidden in Paris.
It was just in Paris, yeah.
But yeah, then they time loop, and you see him do the rewindy, flashy images,
and he wakes up having sex with his girlfriend,
and it like jumps up. She's on top, and he like jumps up and just hugs her. He's like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
I wonder if after a while they get more used to waking up from the time loops.
Maybe, yeah. I think a lot of it as well was he was in such a high adrenaline situation.
Yeah,
he's not really recovered from that almost. Well, from one high adrenaline situation to another in some way.
Yes. So yeah, they kind of go to bed, but then he's got a call from Archie.
Right. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I got shot in the head. Like, it wasn't very fun."
Yeah, because like the last he saw of her was she's dead.
Yeah.
So for her to then call him, he's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, and she basically says like he knows now, like she's confirming that he has the ability, and he knows they're coming for him, so they can't do the same thing again, basically.
Yeah, because it's an interesting villain for them because Redbroth is aware of the time loops, so he's not going to do the same thing again. So they can't just go to that apartment and arrest everyone. But yeah, they're
back at the walk to school, aren't they? From the previous
and you kind of see it playing out like it did before. Cole is pissed,
and somehow, I guess, because shortly after this he had all that stuff happen, he's forgotten the events.
He gets a call from the office because he originally says to Sarah, "Oh, it's a day off today," because usually they have a day off after a time loop thing.
Right, okay.
So he's walking in with her and then gets another call from Wes saying, "You need to come in the office," and she's like, "Oh, I thought it was your day off." And then he's speaking to Wes on the phone, and she's like, "We've got a location for Redbroth. We need to come in."
They said that we got a load of his men, they've turned him over, and they're willing to give up his location. Kind of thing.
And then as they're having that conversation, you see the
rubbish truck go past,
and you're like, "Oh fuck!" And then
I knew the whole thing. I was like, "Fuck!"
And you hear like the brakes,
the argument, and the brakes, and you see.
And turn around, and everyone's like, all the kids are like screaming, and Cole's like, "What?" And then he's like, "Oh,"
and he just starts like screaming her name, and then it ends.
Cut to black.
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like, it was kind of a reversal of he'd done it effortlessly the first time and then fucked it up by not paying attention the second time, which I think maybe they didn't see it as a closer miss as we did, kind of thing. Because they all reacted quite like Carl was obviously shaken up, but the other two, it was like, "Oh, that's lucky that didn't happen."
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like probably because we're watching it and we saw the last one 10 minutes before, but I feel like you wouldn't necessarily forget that part. But if global nuclear war is on the horizon, I guess
it's
like
fair enough to be distracted.
Yeah, but it's a really good ending. I thought. I was genuinely like I felt the emotion. I felt like the tension,
and it's already kind of set the things of like we can't go back for everything.
No, and it made me think he could potentially try to fuck up some of the plans so that there's an excuse to go back.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's where it will go, because the trailer we as listeners you may know we quite often will watch a trailer for the thing that we're discussing, just as a little reminder for both of us. And we watched the Lazarus one about an hour and 10 minutes ago, and it got to about 2/3 through the trailer and it started showing stuff from episode 2. And we went, no. And one of the bits was, I think, Archie saying, you can't go back and save Sarah just because...
you see Sarah in a hospital bed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Did you not see that?
I didn't see that.
Sorry.
Oh, so she's not dead.
I thought that was the bit that made you go...
No, it was her saying it. I was like,
okay.
Okay, cool. So she's not dead then. She might be like dead
on intensive care.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought, as I said before, it wasn't perfect. Like, there was some delivery of lines, some writing that was a bit cheesy. And I don't know if it will necessarily go anywhere, but I think it's got a real load of potential. And I think the concept is fresh enough.
Yeah,
but like, kind of big scale enough. Do you know what I mean? It's a good balance.
Like doing a time loop thing isn't exactly original, but what they're doing with time loop is fairly original. Of like, we're a team that actually controlled the time loop to stop the end of the world.
Yeah,
I quite like that, and the fact that we always go back to the checkpoint of the 1st of July each year. I quite like that. I agree. Some of it was cheesy, but I feel part of maybe I'm just giving it a bit of leeway of like, it's the first episode, it's introducing characters and everything, so it's always going to have a bit of that.
I think it's I say some of the concepts are original. I think the kind of the setup isn't super original, but we both like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We both liked Torchwood and stuff in the past. That sort of, we talked about Primeval. It feels very much of that kind of ilk of like, it's a team saving the world, and that's not a bad thing. And I think some of the stuff that I'm seeing is a bit derivative is because it follows that formula a little bit. Yeah, but it's doing something like different with it. I think
it takes itself a little more seriously than the likes of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Torchwood. It has jokes in there, but like it felt like it's got I feel like Sky TV dramas are all set in the same universe. They've all got a similar vibe of like some jokes, but some like adult stuff, but generally the similar sort of tone and stuff to it. They're all pretty much the same in tone. I think this is very much
I say bloodless. I mean, there are a couple of slightly bloody bits, but
the Dane was quite bloody when he's
exactly, that's what I was thinking. But generally speaking, it's inoffensive, I think, in a lot of ways, despite the fact that they're quite insistent on having their F's every now and then. But I think generally speaking, but that's not a bad thing. It's just it's
just it's what people are like,
and it's like you say, like, now we know what to expect. I don't think any of these bits will be something that I'll pick up on next episode. It's just when it's completely fresh, you kind of notice certain things that maybe aren't super perfect about it. But
I'm quite looking forward to watching the next episode. So I'm quite intrigued to see where they go with it.
Is it? I think we found it was 8, maybe.
It is 8. Yeah.
So that's a good amount of time to do. They could do something. They could do really interesting stuff with it.
Yeah, the fact that they've gone in with Sarah getting hit by a lorry at the end of episode 1,
and nuclear war happening. Or a nuclear bomb going off, and they've tackled COVID stuff already, so that's not going to come back.
There's so many different angles they could go with this. But I'm quite looking forward to it. So do you want to do ratings?
I haven't written any. I've written down my little kind of review there just to give me a bit of a hand. I think I'd rate it pretty highly. I don't know really. Have you got something in mind?
I was gonna give it a 7.
Yeah, I was thinking between 7 and 8, and I feel like 8. I don't know if I've given an 8 yet.
You definitely have at some point.
Maybe once or twice.
But I'm reluctant to give it an 8 because it doesn't give me a lot of leeway for when there's better episodes than this. So I feel like there will be better episodes than this.
Yeah, but not 9 worthy.
Yeah.
No, I think 7. I agree with that.
Because the concept is interesting, but it is very much an introduction episode. So yeah, 7. But
yeah, I'd agree with that.
I had a fun time with it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to watching. I might just watch it at some point soon.
yeah. Well, as long as you, I was thinking about that as well because we found out that it's all available at once.
Yeah,
got to be careful not to binge it because the issue there is recording an episode where you know what happens in the episode after and potentially spoiling something or even just kind of ruining it for yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
half of this is speculation as well, isn't it?
I'm gonna have to not watch episode 3 before we do the episode for episode 2. So I think I kind of went into this with the thought of like, oh, if this is good, we'll just watch this every week for I mean, if it was bad, then we do what we do with a lot of other TV shows and watch one every now and then.
Yeah,
but I think because
suggesting that all of our regulars are a bad thing.
No, they're just a bit older, so it's not as important to watch them week by week. But because this is a new thing, hopefully it's got a lot of fans out there. So we were thinking, because it actually is quite good, of just becoming a Lazarus Project podcast for a few weeks.
I think so. Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't want to confirm with you before because I didn't know how you felt about the episode.
Yeah, same.
Try and keep our true feelings hidden.
Yeah, I think maybe not every week, but for the majority of the next couple of months, we'll just focus on this.
I think unless something else comes out that we need to cover more topical.
And we'll probably do something different for episode 50.
Yeah, we had a little brief discussion. A brief discussion before recording. So we've got some ideas, some exciting ideas there.
Yeah.
We won't share them just yet, but we have some ideas and it'll be something different to what we've done before.
Yeah, we thought we'd do something special for episode 50.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of episodes before then anyway, so we won't go into any more detail on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is episode 1 of the Lazarus Project.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Which means it's now time for
personal projects.
This is personal
projects. Yay!
Woo! That was my favorite one ever.
Oh, God, you always have a favorite. Every week you have a new favorite.
I know.
I love the fact that I found one of them in like just general watching stuff in real life, watching something, and I messaged you.
I assume I'll have to put that one in now.
Oh, you don't have to do it for this one, but just watching something in real life and seeing this time it's personal, I was just like, yeah.
Considering I struggled so hard to find an actual this time it's personal. Most of them are just like other things.
Maybe it says now it's personal, but it's
fine.
That's fine.
Same, it's still the same. Yeah, I'm getting through the ones I've got, and I'm reluctant to. It was a long process. It's finding them on this website that collates clips. Anyway, it's not related to. I mean, it is, but it's not the point of this segment, is it? So, Lewis, what have you been watching, reading, doing, dancing, singing?
So not too much more Shield, but I did watch a Star Wars trilogy yesterday. By a Star Wars trilogy. It's not a trilogy. I watched 3 consecutive Star Wars films.
Right, okay.
I watched Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and A New Hope.
Interesting.
The classic trilogy.
The classic trilogy. 3 pretty good films as well.
Yeah.
3 very different films.
Yeah, 3 very different, and probably 3 of my favorites because they're definitely all in my top like 6, I reckon.
Yeah, I can see that. I haven't seen Rogue One in quite a while. I think it was one of the last sequel trilogy.
Right. Rogue One is
I watched it,
it's very like the final act does a lot of the heavy lifting for that film. Like having watched it several times now,
I think
the first half is a bit boring.
It's a classic team film where it takes a little while for them to get together.
But the final bit is absolutely amazing, and obviously it's got the Vader scene.
What's the planet called? Scarif. Yeah. It's the first like tropical beach one.
And Ben Mendelsohn's good.
Ben Mendelsohn, all of that kind of. It's not a D-Day landing, but it has that kind of vibe on the beaches and stuff. That's all cool.
And like the ATT,
the guy from Rizzle Kicks is in it.
Yeah, he is. Brighton
represent.
But yeah, it's a good film, and that whole action bit at the end is good.
And they do a good job of making it feel like a real war film, don't they?
Yeah,
especially that last.
And it really does feed into A New Hope really well, where you're like, it genuinely does feel like this happened just before the start of A New Hope.
Yeah. And that's why Vader's walking a little bit slower after that, because he's a bit tired. He did all that killing.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't do a big fight with Obi-Wan at the end of the film. He's already done all that not that long before. So, you know, you don't need to... Also, he's just an old man. So
yeah, I think that fight with Obi-Wan is less about the fight and then more about them talking stuff through that they really need to.
You've seen the remake that people have done. Yeah, interesting.
It's
a bit over the top.
It's a bit of a fun thing, but it's what it is. But yeah, no, I like all three of those films.
Yeah.
It was partly because obviously the Obi-Wan series is out, so I was like, I watched Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones a couple of months ago,
right?
And I was like, I'll finish off the trilogy, and then I was like, yeah, I might as well just watch more Star Wars. And all three are good. A New Hope's obviously a classic. I watched it on Disney Plus. Last time I watched it was on my theatrical release DVD that I have.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you notice anything particular?
It's the effects, really, isn't it? Like,
Han shot first is different.
Han shot first, and there's lots of like on Tatooine extra like dinosaur-y aliens that just walk across the screen every now and then. Jabba the Hutt isn't in the theatrical release. But yeah, it's still good fun, and you know, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so it's nice to have a Star Wars day of just watching Star Wars. You know, it's good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I say I've watched something. I've still not yet finished it, but
I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
Very much been enjoying, which, you know, it's not exactly. I'm not exactly unique in watching this, because I think it's had a bit of a breakout on Netflix. The Tollywood film RRR, which is directed by S.S. Rajamouli, who also did the Bahubali films, which I'm a big fan of. And it's 2022 kind of historical epic in some ways, but also very, it's a crazy film. It's about two guys who are on opposite sides of the kind of British imperial rule in India. They become unlikely friends and kind of forge a revolution together. It's very dramatic. It's very kind of... it's musically in parts. You saw a couple of scenes I showed you, Lewis.
Yeah, you showed me a fight scene and a dance scene that were both highly entertaining.
Yeah, there's a very kind of fire and ice theme in one of the fights, and there's a particular dance scene where it's kind of just like an endurance test dance off, isn't it? And they
and they beat the British guy.
The British guy is like, this is disgusting. Yeah. It's very funny. It's very entertaining. I heard it described as like if Zack Snyder made cheerful films, because it's got that kind of 300 style of fighting where it does the slow, fast kind of zoom in, zoom out situation. It's also a bit like a real life anime as well, I would say, in a lot of ways, because of the kind of drama and the action, and you know, it's really good fun, and it's 3 hours long, which is why I haven't yet finished it. But I have watched the first half twice now, because I had to show people last night when they came around. And I'm about 20 minutes, half an hour from the end, so I'll probably finish that tonight, and I would highly recommend it. If instead of that, you want to watch something that's a bit more of a historical film, the film Bahubali, which is directed by the same Indian gentleman, is fantastic, and it's more of a kind of Shakespearean family story about betrayal, and it's got all this crazy action, more like 300 kind of style thing, armies fighting each other, like elephants and rhinos and shit, and it's
nice.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I've been watching. I started Stranger Things season 4, but only watched one episode, so I will get to that at some point.
There's lots of talk of Stranger Things in the office at the moment, but I haven't started season 2 yet. So
2 is okay. 3 I really liked, which is I think not.
I think I'd have to rewatch season 1 as well because I watched that in one day.
There's
6 years ago
on Netflix. They've got specific season recaps, so you could just watch season 1 recap on there if you want.
Okay.
If you want to save yourself watching 9 episodes or whatever,
because they're long.
Yeah, and they're also independent enough, the seasons, that I don't think it's super important to watch. Yeah. Like, it's not like the same bad guy turn. I mean, it kind of is, but not really. Kind of.
Yeah, I don't remember much about season 1 at all.
Yeah, watch the recap. I mean, or you could watch on YouTube. There's probably like 5-minute recaps where it's like, and then this guy did this, and then there's always a guy that sounds like that doing those. But it's probably Americans saying, there's probably always guys that sound like that doing podcasts in the UK.
Yeah.
I feel like we lost the trail of thought there a little bit. So shall we wrap things up for today?
I think that's a great idea. If you liked this episode, or just the project in general, really appreciate if you give us 5 stars on your podcast listening device.
Yeah.
If you have more particular thoughts, potentially thoughts about the Lazarus Project,
or anything really,
in contact with us directly. Although, don't give us spoilers.
For the
rest of the season.
Please don't do that.
I don't tend to check the email anyway, so don't give Sam spoilers.
I have notifications set to on, so if you send me rude things or spoilers, I will see them immediately and be shocked and disgusted.
Yeah.
By rude things, I mean like swear words. I don't want any actual.
But if you want to send a nice thing, or general comments, how do you do that?
Well, you go onto your email capture sending device.
Right.
Sounds like a Pokemon, isn't it? Capture device. You type in theprojectpod@gmail.com. I was about to start spelling it like I do at work, but I'm not doing that now. Tango, Hotel, Echo. Projectpod@gmail.com. Yeah, send us a little message or a long message if you like. You can also find us on all social medias that are relevant, including TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
What about Donald Trump's social media thing that he set up?
I said all the relevant ones. So.
Okay.
And we're also not on that Russian one called like VK or something.
What about the Chinese one that's like the biggest social media one?
TikTok.
No, we are on TikTok.
Yeah, which is the Chinese.
There's a Chinese like Facebook something. That's...
Oh no, we're not on that because I don't think we have access in the UK.
No,
because the point is that it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, TikTok scans your face when you don't realise.
Really?
And it uses your facial expressions to tell what stuff to give you. So that's not scary at all. So make sure you don't have your dick out when you're looking on Facebook. I mean TikTok.
Well, on Facebook too, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they all do the same thing. Anyway, please do let us know what you've thought about this first one and your predictions for the ongoing, but no spoilers, as Lewis said.
Yes.
Also, if you have anybody in your life that you think would enjoy this episode, please do share, because word of mouth is the best way to make us those big bucks, and you will get those big. I was gonna say fucks, but
project bucks.
No, you'll get big fucks because you'll be the cool guy, and you'll get the big fucks.
Yeah, with all your project bucks
and all the bucks and the fuck. Anyway, thanks for listening today. We'll see you very shortly, and in the meantime, make sure you watch the second episode of the Lazarus Project so that you will know what we're talking about.
You can come and join in the conversation.
And if you haven't watched it, it's fine, because we'll tell you what's going to happen.
We will.
Thanks for listening.
I will hear you next week.
Bye. See you in Paris, bitch.
Yeah, I got a shot in the head. That was a bit shit.